My name is Rachel. I'm 32, and life had always been an intricate balance of love, work, and family. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for 8 years, and while our marriage wasn't perfect, I believed we had a strong partnership, or so I thought. Daniel had a 14-year-old son, Jack, from his previous marriage. When I met Jack, he was a shy, polite boy who slowly warmed up to me over time. I treated him like my own child, helping with his homework, attending his soccer games, and even creating his favorite meals on the weekends. Despite my efforts, there were moments when Jack would remind me I wasn't his real mom. I brushed it off, chalking it up to teenage angst. Things began to change when Daniel's sister, Clara, moved back to our city. Clara and I had always been cordial, but there was an undercurrent of tension. She was protective of Daniel and had never fully accepted me into the family. One evening, Clara came over for dinner. As we sat around the table, she brought up Jack. "Jack's been telling me he feels uncomfortable here, Rachel," Clara said, her tone dripping with concern. I was taken aback. "Uncomfortable, Jack? Is that true?" Jack hesitated, his eyes darting toward Clara. I don't know. Sometimes." Clara jumped in. "See? Kids pick up on things. Rachel, maybe you're too strict with him." I felt blindsided. I had always been fair and loving toward Jack. This accusation felt unwarranted, but Daniel sat there silently, not defending me. A week later, Clara hosted a family gathering. I noticed the sideways glances and hushed whispers. Daniel's aunt approached me and said, "Rachel, I hope you're not too hard on Jack. He's just a child." The pieces began to fall into place. Clara had been spreading rumors about me mistreating Jack. That night, I confronted Daniel. "Why didn't you defend me when Clara accused me of making Jack uncomfortable?" I asked. He sighed. "Rachel, Jack's been acting distant lately. Maybe Clara has a point." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I've done nothing but care for Jack as if he were my own. Why are you doubting me?" Daniel didn't respond, and I felt the foundation of our marriage begin to crack. One morning, as I was preparing breakfast, I overheard Jack on the phone. "She's so fake," he whispered. "Clara said I should tell Dad how unhappy I am. Maybe they'll split up." I froze. The boy I had loved and cared for was plotting against me. Manipulated by Clara, the betrayal cut deep. Later that day, Daniel came home early. "We need to talk," he said, his expression grave. "About what?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Jack told me he doesn't feel safe here. Clara agrees. Maybe it's best if you take a break from the house for a while." I was speechless. "You want me to leave my own home? Based on lies?" Daniel avoided my gaze. "It's not permanent. Just until things settle down." Packing my bags felt like a nightmare. As I closed the door behind me, I vowed this wouldn't be the end of my story. Sitting in my car, a small suitcase beside me, I stared at my phone. My mind raced between fury and heartbreak. My home had been taken from me, not by an external force, but by the people I trusted most. I checked into a modest motel across town. The room was quiet, but my thoughts were loud. Clara's influence over Daniel and Jack had turned my life upside down. I needed answers. The next morning, I called my best friend, Mia. She listened intently as I recounted everything that had happened. "This is ridiculous, Rachel," Mia fumed. "You've been nothing but good to that boy. Clara's jealousy has been simmering for years, and now she's using Jack to drive a wedge between you and Daniel." "I feel so powerless," I admitted. Mia's voice grew firm. "You're not powerless. You need to fight back. Start by gathering proof that you've done nothing wrong." Her words sparked something in me. I wasn't the villain Clara painted me to be. It was time to uncover the truth. Over the next few days, I began piecing together Clara's influence. I reached out to Jack's teachers, coaches, and even his friends' parents. Each conversation painted a similar picture. I was a caring stepmother who always put Jack's needs first. I can't believe they're accusing you of mistreatment, one parent said. Jack always speaks highly of you. But the most revealing moment came when I decided to visit Clara's neighbor, Mrs. Benson, a nosy but kind older woman. She had a habit of keeping tabs on everyone in the neighborhood. "Oh, Clara?" Mrs. Benson chuckled when I mentioned her name. "She's always meddling. I overheard her telling her friend about a plan to protect Jack from you. Sounded like nonsense to me." Clara's manipulation wasn't just a hunch, it was real. I decided to meet Jack after school. He seemed surprised to see me but agreed to talk. "Jack, I need to ask you something," I said gently. "Do you really feel unsafe with me? Or is someone telling you to say that?" Jack looked uncomfortable, his gaze shifting away. I don't know. Clara said you might be trying to replace my mom." My heart ached. "Jack, I would never try to replace your mom. I care about you because you're part of our family. Clara is wrong to put these ideas in your head." He didn't respond, but his silence spoke volumes. Clara's influence wasn't just about me, it was about creating doubt in Jack's mind. Armed with the evidence I had gathered, I decided to confront Daniel. I invited him to meet me at a coffee shop. "Rachel, what is this about?" he asked, his tone weary. I placed a stack of papers on the table, testimonies from teachers, neighbors, and even screenshots of Clara's social media posts subtly undermining me. "This is about the lies that have destroyed our home," I said firmly. Daniel hesitated as he flipped through the pages. "I didn't know," he began. "Because you didn't want to know," I interrupted. "You let Clara manipulate you and Jack, and you didn't even question it." The weight of my words seemed to hit him. "I'll talk to Clara," he said. "Talking isn't enough," I said, my voice breaking. "You need to decide where your loyalty lies, with the truth or with Clara's lies." The days following my confrontation with Daniel were nerve-wracking. I had laid everything bare, but his inaction spoke volumes. He avoided my calls, and Jack's texts grew sporadic. It felt like I was screaming into a void. But I wasn't ready to give up. Clara's lies couldn't go unchecked. If Daniel wouldn't stand up for me, I'd fight for myself. One afternoon, Mia called, her voice laced with urgency. "Rachel, you won't believe what I found," she said. "Clara's been bragging about her success to her friends. She thinks she's won." Mia sent me screenshots of Clara's messages in a private group chat. Her words were venomous. I told Daniel exactly what he needed to hear. "Rachel will be out for good soon. Jack finally sees her for who she is." I made sure of that. My blood boiled. Clara wasn't just meddling, she was orchestrating an all-out campaign to ruin me. I decided it was time to confront Clara directly. I drove to her house, my hands trembling with a mix of anger and determination. She opened the door, her expression smug. "Rachel," she said coolly, "what brings you here?" "Cut the act, Clara," I snapped. "I know what you've been doing. You've poisoned Jack against me and manipulated Daniel. And now, I have proof." Clara's smile faltered for a moment before she crossed her arms. "Proof? Of what?" "I'm just protecting my nephew from someone who clearly doesn't belong in his life." Her words stung, but I held my ground. "This isn't about Jack. This is about your jealousy and your inability to let go of control. You're hurting him more than you're helping." Clara's face turned red with anger. "Get off my property," she hissed. "You have no idea what you're talking about." But I did. And now, I had the evidence to back it up. After leaving Clara's house, I reached out to Jack's therapist, Dr. Harris. "I've been hesitant to intervene," Dr. Harris admitted, "but it's clear Jack is caught in the middle of a toxic situation. He's confused and being influenced by conflicting narratives." Dr. Harris agreed to facilitate a family session, including Clara. It was a long shot, but I hoped it would force her to face the damage she had caused. The session was tense from the start. Clara arrived with an air of superiority, while Daniel looked uncomfortable. Jack sat quietly, avoiding my gaze. Dr. Harris began gently. We're here to create a space for honesty and healing. Let's start by discussing Jack's feelings. Jack hesitated before speaking. I don't know what to think, he said. Clara says one thing, but I remember when Rachel helped me with my school project and took me to the park when I was sad. My heart swelled at his words, but Clara quickly cut in. Jack, don't forget how she's tried to replace your mother. Enough, Clara, I said, my voice firm. This isn't about replacing anyone. It's about creating a family where everyone feels safe and loved. Dr. Harris turned to Clara. Your influence on Jack is undeniable, but it's important to consider how your actions might be impacting him negatively. For the first time, Clara looked uncertain. The session ended with no clear resolution, but the cracks in Clara's facade were starting to show. Later that evening, Daniel called me. I've been blind, he admitted. Clara's been manipulating all of us. I should have stood up for you. I wanted to believe him, but trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. Actions speak louder than words. Daniel, I said, if you want to fix this, you need to show me, and Jack, that you're committed to the truth. The next day, Jack came to see me. I'm sorry, Rachel, he said, tears in his eyes. I didn't know what to believe, but I know you've always cared about me. I hugged him tightly. All I've ever wanted is for you to be happy and safe. As for Clara, her influence began to wane. Daniel set firm boundaries, and Jack started therapy on his own to process everything. Life didn't immediately return to normal after the family therapy session, but it felt like a fog was lifting. For the first time in months, I could see a path forward, not just for me, but for all of us. Clara's manipulations didn't go unnoticed after the session. Daniel started addressing her behavior directly, finally acknowledging how her meddling had hurt our family. He limited her visits with Jack and made it clear that her interference was no longer welcome. Jack needs stability, he told her firmly during a follow-up meeting facilitated by Dr. Harris. Your intentions might have been good, but your actions have caused nothing but harm. From now on, Rachel and I are making decisions for Jack, together. Clara was livid, but her protests fell on deaf ears. The evidence of her manipulations, coupled with Jack's growing awareness of the truth, left her with little room to argue. Jack and I slowly rebuilt our bond. It wasn't easy, trust takes time to restore, but we found joy in the small moments. Movie nights, trips to the park, and quiet conversations about his favorite books became the foundation of our renewed relationship. Daniel worked hard to make amends, too. He attended therapy sessions with Jack and me, where we discussed everything from his initial doubts to the importance of standing united as a family. I let fear cloud my judgment, Daniel admitted during one session, but I'm ready to do the work to rebuild what I've broken. Months later, our family looked different, but stronger. Clara no longer had the influence she once wielded, and Jack had flourished with the consistency and love he deserved. One sunny Saturday, as we sat in the backyard, Jack turned to me with a shy smile. Rachel, thank you for not giving up on me. I blinked back tears. I'll never give up on you, Jack. We're family, no matter what. Daniel reached for my hand. This is just the beginning for us, he said. And he was right. The road had been rough, but we had emerged on the other side, together. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm 34 years old, and until a year ago, I thought I had the perfect life, a loving husband, a stepdaughter I adored, and a career I was proud of. But all that changed when I discovered just how far someone could go to tear apart a family. When I married my husband, Michael, 3 years ago, I knew his 14-year-old daughter, Chloe, would be a part of the package. She was bright, a little shy, and still adjusting to her parents' divorce. I did everything I could to make her feel loved and supported. I helped with her homework, attended her school plays, and planned fun weekend outings. But as time went on, things began to shift. Chloe grew distant, and her behavior changed. At first, I thought it was just teenage angst, but soon, I realized there was more to the story. It started with small things, missing items around the house, snide comments muttered under her breath, and a sudden unwillingness to spend time with me. Then came the accusations. "Dad, Emily doesn't like me," she told Michael one evening after dinner. Michael looked at me, confused. "What are you talking about, Chloe? Emily's always been kind to you." Chloe crossed her arms and gave me a glare. "You don't see the way she talks to me when you're not around." I was stunned. "Chloe, that's not true. I've never said anything mean to you." But the doubt was already planted in Michael's mind. Over the next few months, Chloe's accusations escalated. She claimed I ignored her, blamed her for things I didn't do, and even made up stories about me yelling at her when Michael wasn't home. One night, Michael confronted me. "Emily, Chloe says you've been treating her unfairly. What's going on?" I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. "Michael, none of that is true. I don't know why she's saying these things." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know what to believe anymore." The tension in our home was unbearable. Michael was caught between his daughter and me, and no matter how much I tried to prove my innocence, Chloe always found a way to make me look like the villain. The final straw came on Chloe's 15th birthday. I had spent weeks planning a special day for her, a surprise party with all her friends, her favorite cake, and decorations in her favorite colors. But when she walked in, instead of being happy, she burst into tears. "Why did you do this without asking me?" she sobbed. "You ruined everything." Michael rushed to her side, glaring at me. "Emily, why would you plan something she didn't want?" I was heartbroken. I thought she'd like it. I was trying to make her happy. Chloe stormed out, leaving me standing there in front of the confused guests. It was clear that no matter what I did, I could never win. After Chloe's meltdown at her birthday party, everything spiraled out of control. Michael's trust in me eroded even further, and I began to feel like a stranger in my own home. Chloe's behavior grew bolder. She started twisting my words, fabricating events that never happened, and constantly playing the victim. One day, Michael confronted me with something that left me speechless. "Chloe told me you said she wasn't welcome in this house anymore. Is that true?" I felt my stomach drop. "What? Michael, I would never say that." "She said you told her yesterday, after I left for work." He pressed, his tone sharp. "Michael, I've spent the last 2 days preparing her favorite meal and cleaning up for her study group. Why would I do that if I didn't want her here?" But no matter how much I tried to explain, Chloe's tears and trembling voice always seemed to win him over. One evening, I overheard Chloe talking on the phone in her room. Her door was slightly ajar, and I couldn't help but listen. "She's going to leave soon. I know it. Dad can't stand how she treats me. I just have to keep this up a little longer," she whispered, laughing softly. I froze in place, my heart pounding. This wasn't a misunderstanding, this was deliberate. Chloe was orchestrating my downfall, and Michael was falling for it. I knew I had to act, but how could I prove what I heard without coming across as paranoid or vindictive? Things came to a head one fateful night. Michael came home from work, his expression unreadable. He sat me down in the living room, Chloe lurking in the background with a smug smile on her face. "Emily, I can't do this anymore," he said, his voice trembling. "Chloe feels unsafe around you, and I can't have that in my house. I think it's best if you stay somewhere else for a while." Tears welled up in my eyes. Michael, are you serious? You're asking me to leave because of lies she's telling you? I don't know what's true anymore, he admitted, looking away. Chloe smirked behind him, a look of triumph flashing across her face. With a heavy heart, I packed a bag and left the house that night, but as I walked out the door, I promised myself one thing: I would not let Chloe win. Staying at a friend's place gave me time to think. I went over every interaction, every argument, and every detail that might prove my innocence. Chloe's behavior wasn't just a rebellious teenager acting out, it was manipulative and calculated. I decided to take a bold step. If Chloe wanted to destroy me, I would fight back, but not in anger. I would do it with the truth. First, I reached out to a family therapist, explaining the situation and asking for advice. Then, I began documenting everything: texts, notes, overheard conversations, even comments Chloe made in front of others. The first step to regaining control was building an undeniable case, and I was ready to see it through. With my plan in place, I started gathering evidence to expose Chloe's lies. The family therapist I consulted emphasized the importance of a calm, methodical approach. Chloe's manipulative tactics relied on creating chaos, and I needed to counter that with clarity and proof. One day, I decided to visit Chloe's school. I had always respected her privacy, but I suspected that her behavior at home might mirror her behavior elsewhere. I met with her guidance counselor, Mrs. Adams, under the guise of discussing Chloe's academic progress. Mrs. Adams greeted me warmly but looked hesitant. Actually, I've been meaning to speak with someone about Chloe. She's incredibly bright, but I've noticed some concerning patterns. She often blames others when things don't go her way and can be, let's say, manipulative in social settings. Hearing this validated everything I had been experiencing. Has she ever mentioned any issues at home? I asked cautiously. She's brought up some conflicts, Mrs. Adams said delicately. But the stories don't always align. I've been hesitant to intervene without concrete evidence. Her words were a revelation. Chloe's behavior wasn't just targeted at me, it was a consistent pattern. Back at my temporary residence, I combed through old texts and emails. I even found a journal Chloe had accidentally left out one day, a collection of her grievances, twisted half-truths, and fabricated stories about me. One entry stood out: if Dad thinks she's the bad guy, I can finally get the attention I deserve. It was chilling to read, but it solidified my resolve. Chloe's actions were rooted in insecurity, but they were causing real harm. The turning point came when I received an unexpected text from one of Chloe's friends, Mia. She'd overheard Chloe bragging about how she got rid of me and felt compelled to reach out. She said it was all part of her plan to make you look bad. I thought you should know, Mia wrote. Armed with this message and the growing mountain of evidence, I knew it was time to confront Michael. But I also wanted Chloe to face the consequences of her actions in a way that encouraged accountability rather than outright punishment. I arranged a meeting at the therapist's office, where I presented my findings to Michael. As I spoke, I could see the realization dawning on his face. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, guilt evident in his eyes. "I tried, Michael. But you were too blinded by Chloe's manipulation to see it," I replied. "I love her, but this behavior has to stop, for everyone's sake." When Chloe was brought into the session, her initial defiance quickly crumbled under the weight of the evidence. The therapist guided the conversation, ensuring it remained constructive. I wanted you to notice me more," Chloe admitted tearfully. "It felt like she was taking you away from me." For the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of the vulnerable teenager Chloe truly was beneath the scheming facade. It was clear she needed help, and as a family, we committed to getting it for her. But I also made it clear, I wouldn't tolerate being treated as a scapegoat anymore. Boundaries were set, and Michael apologized profusely for doubting me. The confrontation in the therapist's office marked a turning point, but it wasn't the end of the journey, it was only the beginning. Michael was overcome with remorse for his earlier behavior. He took me out to dinner to apologize properly, away from the tension of home. I should have trusted you, he admitted, his voice heavy with guilt. I let Chloe's words cloud my judgment because I was so scared of losing her too. I see now how much I've hurt you. Hearing those words felt like a balm on my wounds, but trust isn't repaired with an apology alone. I told him, I'm willing to try, but we both need to work on rebuilding what we've lost. He agreed, and for the first time in months, I felt like we were truly on the same team. With therapy, Chloe began to open up about her feelings of abandonment after her mother left. Her manipulative behavior was a misguided cry for attention and control. While her progress was slow, there were signs of change. She began apologizing more sincerely and even took steps to mend our relationship. One evening, she handed me a card that read, "I'm sorry for what I did. I hope we can start over." It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I also had to establish firm boundaries. Chloe needed to understand that manipulation wouldn't be tolerated. Michael and I agreed to a united front, no more taking sides. We created family rules, one of which included weekly family dinners where everyone shared their highs and lows of the week. It was awkward at first, but gradually, we found moments of connection. A few months later, Michael surprised me with a weekend getaway. "You deserve a break," he said with a smile. It was a gesture that reminded me of the man I fell in love with. Meanwhile, Chloe continued therapy and slowly began to rebuild her relationships, not just with me but also with her peers. Her transformation wasn't overnight, but she was putting in the work.
Why did it have to be you? Mother's cold voice pierced the silence of the living room, her icy gaze fixed on my abdomen. I froze, speechless. My name is Moran, a 25-year-old housewife. My older sister Tara is 3 years my senior and has always been Mother's favorite. For years, I longed for Mother's approval. When I discovered I was pregnant, I dared to hope that news of her first grandchild might bridge the chasm between us. That day, my husband Warner and I visited my parents' house to share our announcement. Tara was the first to greet us, her bright smile as warm as ever. "Moran, it's been so long," she said, pulling me into a hug. Father was out at work, but Tara assured me he'd return soon. When Mother appeared, her expression tightened at the sight of me, though she quickly masked it with a smile as soon as she noticed Warner. "Oh my, I don't have anything prepared for your visit." "Just a moment," she said, retreating to the kitchen. Minutes later, she returned with a plate of homemade cookies. They were laden with sugar, something she knew I disliked. "Ah, that's right. Moran doesn't like sweets, does she?" she said with exaggerated concern, her gaze shifting to Warner. "I'm sorry." Warner smiled politely and replied, "Who I'm eating with matters more than what I'm eating." Mother's response was curt. "I see." She sat down on the sofa, her gaze still guarded. With everyone seated, I took a deep breath. "We came here today because we have something important to share." My voice trembled slightly. Mother's sharp eyes bore into me, but I pressed on. "Actually, I'm pregnant." For a moment, the room was utterly silent. Then Tara broke it with a joyous cheer. "Moran, congratulations," she said, throwing her arms around me. But Mother's expression darkened. Warner excused himself to take a work call, and Tara headed to the kitchen to make tea. Left alone with Mother, the tension in the room became suffocating. Her mask slipped completely. "Why did it have to be you?" she spat, her voice trembling with suppressed rage. I opened my mouth to respond, but she cut me off. "The first grandchild should have been Tara's. Someone like you." Before I could process her words, she stood abruptly and kicked me hard in the stomach. The pain was searing, and I collapsed, a scream tearing from my throat. "Mother, stop." Tara's horrified cry came from the kitchen doorway. She ran to me as Warner burst back into the room, his face a mix of shock and fury. "Moran," he shouted, kneeling beside me as I curled into myself, trembling. Tara grabbed her phone and called an ambulance while Warner held me protectively. "What are you doing?" She bumped into the dresser, Mother said calmly, waving a dismissive hand. But Tara's voice cracked with anger. Mom, I saw you. You kicked her in the stomach. As the sound of ambulance sirens grew louder, I drifted in and out of consciousness. Warner squeezed my hand, whispering, "It's okay. I'm here." Tara was sobbing as she restrained Mother, shouting, "What if something happens to the baby?" The paramedics arrived, their voices urgent and commanding. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, Mother's cold stare burned into me, a concentrated embodiment of the disdain she'd shown me my entire life. Tara rode with me in the ambulance, holding my hand tightly. "I'm so sorry," she said over and over, tears streaming down her face. I should have noticed before. Despite my pain, I felt a glimmer of gratitude for my sister. Her warmth and love had been a constant, even in the shadow of Mother's indifference. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, the glow of streetlights flickered across my vision. My mind drifted to memories of my childhood. When had Mother's treatment of Tara and me diverged so starkly? I couldn't pinpoint the moment, but I knew Mother, the town's former beauty queen, had always reveled in how Tara mirrored her looks. Every neighbor's compliment, "You're Patricia's daughter, aren't you?" seemed to make her glow with pride. I, however, with my features taking after Father, had always been her disappointment. Lying in a hospital bed later that night, I came to a decision. It was time to end this toxic relationship with Mother, for my sake and for my child's. I still vividly remember one Christmas morning when I was 8 and Tara was 11. The tree was adorned with shimmering lights, and beautifully wrapped presents were stacked beneath it. Tara opened her gift first, a trendy, brand-name dress. Mother beamed with pride. "It's perfect for Tara. She is my daughter, after all," she said, her voice dripping with affection. When my turn came, I eagerly tore the wrapping off my box. Inside, I found a pair of simple jeans and a t-shirt, likely purchased on sale at Walmart. "These suit you better, Moran," Mother remarked casually. My young self didn't know how to respond. I just nodded, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. It wasn't just about the clothes. Even at mealtimes, the differences were glaring. Mother would heap extra portions onto Tara's plate, urging her, "You can eat more, can't you?" and offering her homemade desserts. Meanwhile, she'd ration my servings, saying, "Moran, if you want to maintain that figure, that's enough, don't you think?" As we grew older, the gap between us widened. Tara blossomed into a popular, confident teenager and became captain of the cheerleading squad. Mother attended every one of her weekend games, snapping endless pictures with pride. I, on the other hand, joined the track team. Despite my strong performance and good times, Mother never once came to watch. "I'm busy," was her perpetual excuse. Father came occasionally, patting my head with a simple, "You did well." But he was preoccupied with work and seemed oblivious to the complexities of our family dynamic. In high school, I began to realize my situation wasn't normal. The turning point came during a conversation with my best friend, Serena. "Moran, your mother is just too cruel," she said one day. I blinked, startled. "What do you mean?" "She buys designer clothes for Tara, but," Serena hesitated, her voice trailing off, "my mom would never treat her kids differently like that." Her words opened my eyes. For the first time, I saw my family through a lens I had avoided, and the truth was painful. Yet Tara remained unaware of the disparity. She genuinely believed I preferred simpler clothes. "Moran, you have such a good figure. You look good in anything," Tara would often say with a smile. Sometimes she even offered to lend me her clothes, but they rarely fit. Mother's treatment worsened when no one else was around. Along with her, her words turned sharp and cutting. "To think I had to give birth to a child like you. Tara would have been enough. Why can't you be more like her?" Her accusations tore at my self-worth, but I learned to hold back my tears, knowing that showing pain only fueled her cruelty. My friends noticed the toll it took on me. On my 16th birthday, Serena and a few others threw me a surprise party. Mother gave me nothing that year, but the small makeup set my friends gifted me remains one of my most treasured possessions. It was around that time that I decided to leave home. I was determined to build a life of my own after high school. Mother's parting words were a sneer. "With just a high school diploma, you'll never amount to anything." But her scorn only steeled my resolve. Meanwhile, Tara went to college, with Mother proudly dipping into the family savings to cover her tuition. "It's worth it for Tara," she said, as if justifying the sacrifice. No such funds had ever been set aside for me. But strangely, the injustice made me stronger. I focused on maintaining excellent grades while working part-time at a local diner. With each paycheck, I built my savings and mapped out a plan for the future. Lying in my hospital bed now, those memories flood back to me like scenes from a movie. The steady beep of the monitor reminds me I'm safe. The doctor assured me my little one is unharmed. I'm no longer that helpless girl. I vowed that day, as I lay staring at the evening sky, that I would never treat my child the way mother treated me. On my second morning in the hospital, Warner arrived early. When I asked, "Is work okay?" he smiled warmly and replied, "You're more important." I met Warner 3 years after graduating high school. Right after leaving home, mother had sneered, "You'll be back soon enough." But I never returned. Tara, busy with her college life, seemed indifferent to my departure. Starting out was tough. I continued working at the diner while applying for clerical positions at major supermarket chains. Every time I mentioned my lack of a college degree, interviewers' faces clouded with doubt. I lost count of how many rejections I faced, more than 30. The turning point came during an interview for a customer service position at an IT company. The HR manager said, "We value your experience and motivation more than your education." Those words changed my life. I landed my first office job at a modest IT company where I met Warner, a systems engineer. Our first interaction was over a jammed printer. "You're always here early and staying late," Warner observed one day, his tone warm and curious. I answered honestly, "I want to learn as much as I can." For someone with just a high school diploma, this job is a rare opportunity. From that day on, Warner often stopped by my desk. We chatted over coffee during breaks and eventually began spending weekends together. As we grew closer, I found the courage to share my struggles. My fraught relationship with mother, the favoritism toward Tara, and father's quiet indifference. I feared opening up would drive him away. But Warner was different. "No one has the right to deny your worth," he said, holding me tightly. For the first time, I felt safe enough to let my tears fall freely. Warner proposed during the winter of my second year at the company. After the office Christmas party, we strolled through streets adorned with glowing lights. He suddenly knelt on one knee, offering a simple but heartfelt, "Will you marry me?" I said yes without hesitation. 2 years had passed since I'd left home when I returned to announce our engagement. Mother's reaction was predictably cold at first. "No decent man would marry a woman with just a high school education," she scoffed. But when she learned Warner was a systems engineer, her demeanor shifted dramatically. "Oh my, an engineer," she exclaimed, her sudden warmth disingenuous. While her change in attitude made me uncomfortable, Warner handled her superficial behavior with grace, responding with calm sincerity. Tara, on the other hand, was genuinely thrilled. "Moran, I'm so happy for you," she said, embracing me with a bright smile and offering to help with the wedding preparations. Even father, typically distant, offered his rare approval, saying he's a good young man. Our wedding was small but heartfelt. Mother wore a smile for appearances but couldn't resist whispering in my ear at the reception, "I don't think this will last." Her words no longer had the power to hurt me. My new life was a revelation. Warner's parents welcomed me with open arms, treating me like their own daughter. My mother-in-law gently guided me through the early days of marriage. "Your cooking is delicious," she'd say, her praise genuine and kind. At work, I continued to thrive. My experience in customer service led to a new role training employees, proving that my high school diploma wasn't a limitation anymore. A year after we married, I discovered I was pregnant. Warner's joy was immediate. He leaped to his feet, exclaiming, "This is amazing," and eagerly shared the news with his parents. They were overjoyed, showering us with baby catalogs and advice. Despite their excitement, I hesitated to tell my own family. I knew mother would find a way to ruin the moment. Yet, a small part of me held on to hope. Hope that this baby might bridge the divide between us. Warner encouraged me, "I'll go with you." We set a date and informed Tara beforehand. That day now feels like a nightmare. As I lie in his hospital bed, the faint fragrance from the bouquet Warner brought fills the room. His whispered words, "It's our turn now," resonate deeply. Despite everything, I know I have Warner, our baby, and a happiness no one can take from me. A knock at the door interrupts my thoughts. "Ma'am, it's time for rounds," the nurse says gently, pulling me back to reality. The choices ahead will be hard, but there's no turning back. The doctor's earlier words echo in my mind. There's a small fracture, but the fetus is unaffected. Relief washed over the room when he said it. Tara squeezed my hand and Warner nodded, his face solemn but calm. Our relief was short-lived. The door opened and Father entered, followed by Mother. "Moran," Father said, his voice tinged with distress. "Tara called us. Is it true?" Mother cut him off, her tone defensive. "What are you talking about? Moran just bumped into the dresser, that's all." Tara stood up, her voice trembling with anger. "That's enough, Mom. I saw it. I saw you kick Moran in the stomach." The color drained from Father's face. "It can't be." Before he could say more, another knock came. A social worker stood at the door. "May I speak with you?" Though her voice was calm, her presence radiated authority. Mother crumpled, tears streaming down her face. "I'm being made the villain. Everyone's ganging up on me," she wailed, but no one was moved by her performance. The social worker remained composed. "This is clearly a case of violence, especially concerning a pregnant victim. It will be treated as a serious matter." Her words froze Mother in her tracks. "I can report this to the police," the social worker added, "but if you'd like to discuss this as a family first." Tara's voice cut through the tension. "Moran, let's tell them everything now." I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said quietly. "There's no need to hide anymore." It was time to confront the years of mistreatment I had endured from Mother. The weight of 25 years pressed heavily on my chest, but I began speaking. "Dad," I said, my voice trembling. "I've been enduring this all along." Piece by piece, I laid it all out, the favoritism, the cruel words, the way Mother would shower Tara with affection while treating me like an afterthought, her demeanor shifting entirely when no one else was around. "Moran," Father's voice broke as he spoke, trembling with regret. "Why didn't you tell me before?" I couldn't. I wiped away the tears spilling down my cheeks. "She always acted like a good mother in front of you and Tara. I thought no one would believe me." Tara, sitting nearby, covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry, Moran," she sobbed. "I never noticed." Before I could respond, Mother abruptly stood, her voice sharp and defensive. "Is it my fault?" She spat. She was ugly and useless. Tara was beautiful, talented, just like me. Her tirade was cut short by Father, whose voice, usually so soft, thundered through the room. "Enough," he said firmly. "You're unfit to be a mother. I won't let you hurt Moran anymore." The social worker present spoke up calmly. "In this situation, I recommend a restraining order and counseling." Mother's face twisted in anger. Suddenly, she lunged toward my bed, screaming, "You ungrateful child. After everything I did for you." But Warner and Father were quicker. They restrained her as nurses rushed in, restoring order to the chaos. That evening, Father made his decision clear. "I'm filing for divorce," he announced, his voice steady but filled with sorrow. "Moran, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this." The police began investigating and a restraining order was issued. Mother moved in with relatives but continued sending bitter messages. "I'll never forgive you," one said. "You ruined my life." Tara, however, became my greatest ally. She visited my hospital room daily, vowing to support me. "This time," she said, her voice resolute, "I'll be there for you." Warner's parents were equally loving. My mother-in-law brought homemade soup every visit, her warm words filling the gaps left by my own mother. "You're a precious daughter," she said. On the day of my discharge, my doctor gently placed a hand on my belly. "The baby is healthy," he'd assured me. "They'll grow up strong." Warner pushed my wheelchair outside, with Tara and Father walking beside us. The soft spring sunlight bathed us, and for the first time, I felt the warmth of true family. Before helping me into the car, Father hugged me tightly. "From now on," he said, his voice heavy with emotion, "let's live as true parent and child." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. The long winter of my life was over. A new season had begun. In the delivery room, the doctor's voice echoed. "Moran, one more push." With every ounce of strength, I bore down, the sound of Warner's steady encouragement in my ear. "You've got this." Tara, crying softly, rubbed my back. Then a strong, healthy cry filled the room. "It's a girl," the nurse announced, holding up the tiny bundle. As the nurse handed her to me, I stared at her red face and tiny clenched fists, tears blurring my vision. Nikki, I whispered, the name Warner, and I had chosen. Father was the first to see her in the waiting room. Tears welled in his eyes as he said, "She looks just like you did when you were born." 3 months have passed since that day. Mother's last contact was a voicemail filled with resentment. "I'll never forgive you. You've taken everything from me." I later heard she moved out of state. Sometimes late at night, I think about her, not with anger, but with sadness. She's a woman who lost her way, who lost the ability to love. Moran, Tara's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "I think Nikki's awake. It's feeding time." Tara brought Nikki to me. She moved into an apartment nearby and visits almost daily, her gentle smile a source of comfort. "Nikki has your eyes," she said, gazing down at the baby. Nikki's brown eyes reflected mine, but her radiant smile was all Warner. "Father recently retired early to spend time with Nikki. I want to watch my granddaughter grow up," he explained. "Every weekend he visits, holding her for hours." One day, he spoke to me with uncharacteristic seriousness. "Moran," he said, "you've done so well. You've become a wonderful mother." His words were a balm for wounds I carried for decades. Parenting isn't easy. Sleepless nights, constant worries, and endless adjustments fill our days. But I'm surrounded by love. Tara is my rock, always offering help. Warner's parents treat Nikki like their own grandchild, knitting her clothes and showering her with love. I've started attending a support group for mothers with complicated family histories. Sharing my story has helped me heal. On Nikki's 6-month birthday, we held a small celebration. Father, Tara, Warner's parents, and close friends filled the room with laughter and warmth. As the setting sun bathed us in light, Warner leaned in and whispered, "Are you happy?" I smiled. "Very." Looking at Nikki's peaceful face, I silently vowed to give her unconditional love, to shield her from the darkness I once endured. As if sensing my thoughts, Nikki reached out her tiny hand, her touch reassuring me. This is where our real story begins. The spring breeze outside swayed the trees gently, promising a bright future ahead.